That's where the magic happens, baby. That's where the magic happens. No, I eat OMGs, which are basically a combination of chocolate, wafer, caramel, and they're pretty deadly. And so I also have, in addition to OMGs, what else do I eat?
Hoagies
I
and
eat,
grinders. Hoagies and
what?
grinders. Navy beans, navy beans.
Milk chocolate with almonds. Yeah, I eat milk chocolate almonds. I eat boogers. Yes, I eat boogers.
Hello.
Phlegm. I eat phlegm. Spiders crawling in my mouth in the middle of the night. Let's see, what else do I eat? I drink a case of Coke a day. Let's see. Yeah, that's about.
Naivety pills.
That's about. What's that? What's that?
Naivety pills.
Naivety pills. Stupidity pills. Is that what you said? Yeah, it's. What else do I eat? Yeah, gummy worms. That's it. I'm done. That's my diet. And I don't understand why it is that I'm so. I suffer from. I'm sorry. I'm suffering from dementia and aggressive behavior
And agoraphobia.
and agoraphobia. Is that spiders? Agoraphobia?
I think,
No, that's
I think
arachnophobia.
agoraphobia is afraid to go
Oh,
outside.
Right, that's what it is. Yeah, yeah. Arachnophobia is the spider thing.
How much agoraphobia do you think are new lifestyles creating for people?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to ask my scientific side. Well, let me see here now. My scientific side would tell you that I don't think it's got a big effect on people. I think what happens is people have to, it's like anything. It's like grief or anything else. It's like there's a process that you go through in order to get through it. Like you have anger, denial. There's a series of emotions that you go through, and eventually you come to acceptance. And so I think it's taken people a while, probably, but you got to get to a point of acceptance. If you don't, then you just stay in anger and denial, right? So I think what's happening is eventually people will understand and realize, if they haven't already, that this is a time in our lives where we have to learn new behaviors, and circumstances are such that we have to stay home more than we used to do. And I think most of us are just going to get used to that, and then probably really enjoy the day when we get to be out and about again. But the social distancing, like physical distancing, is something that I believe might continue to a certain degree, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. If we have to limit crowds, if there's a concert, say there's a concert at the Air Canada Centre, which holds 20,000 people for a concert. If they say, yeah, we're going to have a concert and we're going to allow 5,000 people in there, that's just the way it is. You're going to sell 5,000 seats. They're probably going to be a little more expensive than they would have normally been, but you'll have lots of room, and they'll let people in. The lineups will be such that they'll still spread them out. They'll have all the doors open in the facility, and they'll ask people to keep their distance. And yeah, I think this might continue. Who knows, right? Like, if it does, that's maybe not a bad thing when we don't have like crazy crowds everywhere you go, right?
I think the biggest impact it'll have is that when you go to a meeting, you won't be able to shake everyone's hand.
Well, I'm the guy who shakes everybody's hands. So I'm going to probably start doing the fist bumping thing. Hey, 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 fist bump, fist bump, fist bump, fist bump. Yeah. And that way I'll be able to fist bump everybody in the meeting. Because I don't think during this COVID thing, you know, even fist bumping is
Irrational.
well, it's frowned upon. It doesn't make sense, but it's not helpful. But if there's no particular outbreak at a specific time, then I think a fist bump is probably better than a handshake and just as effective. Hugs are going to be different. I mean, it'll be kind of like there's certain people that you want to share hugs with, but not necessarily everybody. But I don't know, because some people are real huggers and they want to hug everybody. So I'm kind of a hugger. So yeah, it's going to be different. It's but whatever happens is whatever happens, and I don't think we can shame people for wanting to hug or shame people for not wanting to hug. I think it'll be like if we can be respectful of whatever people want to do, then like if somebody wants to hug and I don't want to hug, that's okay, and we can do it in a respectful manner. Just say, hey, okay, give me a fist bump.
Maybe.
And if we can do that, if we can do that, that'll be great.
No, but maybe on the meetings they'll have like interaction meetings versus like distant meetings. They'll have meetings where you get to choose. If you go to it, then people are going to touch you. If you go to this meeting, people will not touch you.
Sure. That's not a bad idea. To have the non-contact meetings versus the contact meetings. So if you've got that, the issue with having like germophobia or whatever, and you don't want to shake hands, you don't want to hug, then you'll go to the meeting where it's. But I still think these Zoom meetings are probably going to be a thing. Because I'm finding it's so easy to go to meetings now. I mean, just pick up your tablet or phone and tap in a code, and you're good to go. And you can go to this meeting for a while, and then I'm gonna try this meeting now. And on Saturdays and Sundays, every Saturday and Sunday, there's a whack of conferences. I was one in Australia last week. There was one in Ireland we were at for a while. And so there's you can go to these conferences, and people from all over the world are there. It's kind of fun. And you can just, because there's like 10 speakers in a day or whatever, you can just tune in, stay for half an hour, make your dinner, eat your dinner, then leave the meeting, come back in an hour or two and get into another meeting. It's the options are many, and it's good. I like it. There's I do miss the personal contact to a degree, like the one-on-one face-to-face, but I still have that when I want to with FaceTime, and lots of phone chats with people. And I mean, I have had a tendency in the past to isolate to a degree at times, and so I can still do that if I want to, but I really try not to in this particular time, because I think I don't know, I like being at these meetings. I was at one last night, and it was good to see some familiar faces on there, and hear some familiar voices, and yeah. I'm going to go to the Renaissance alumni meeting tonight. We're also Zooming with our family, right?
Right.
And you're welcome to join that anytime. Let me know if you want the coordinates for that. But my sisters and my brother and families are connecting, and that's kind of neat. I mean, we're connecting once a week and chatting for like 45 minutes or an hour. It's kind of fun, because we haven't ever done that on that regular. Well, years ago, we used to go to my mom's place on Sunday mornings, and everybody would congregate there. We'd stay there, have breakfast / lunch, like brunch, and we'd have dinner, all of us at my mom's place. And that's how we used to congregate in the day. But now we have this thing going on where we meet once a week to chat, and I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's a good way to connect us all and keep us in a good place, right? So that's another bonus for the Zoom. You know, because I believe that even at least from my standpoint, I believe I'm getting more social interaction, even though it's physically distance. I'm getting a lot more social action now in this world than I would have in the old world, just because I'm able to lock on to so many meetings, and you know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. Yeah.
You're adapting.
I'm adapting, right? I mean, well, we always have the choice, right? When it comes to reality, we can either fight it or accept it and adapt to it. Yeah.
I guess
I
it
mean,
depends on what your reality is.
well, I guess you can also change reality in some cases, right? You can change your reality.
Yeah. Because you have control.
Yeah. Some.
No.
You got control. I got control. Very limited control.
Oh.
Very limited control.
You're a game player.
A game player?
Yeah.
Why am I a game player?
You like to play games. But it's nice.
What kind of,
you are rewarded. You are rewarded with a very good life.
Because of my game playing?
Yeah, you can pick and choose.
Which games I want to play?
Correct.
Okay. I don't get you, but I'll kind of agree that I do have a pretty good life. So
What did you,
something's working.
You wrote, I think, probably a week ago. In your daily review.
Okay.
I just vaguely can remember, but just about control. I think you come to what happens is, for me anyway, you'll hit a barricade and then you decide how much energy do you want to spend on that to change it or to then accept it. And when it's really hard to accept, then you can make a decision to turn to a god of sorts to help you get over the fact that you're not willing to spend the time and energy to change that fact. Then there's other facts, which are even smaller percentage that are out of your control, like coronavirus, but it's only enforced by the government. And then so there, I don't want to get too deep into that, but my point is that you can't control the corona. Let's take it for face value and assume there's a real virus out there. You can't control that. But I believe that you're controlling up to you 90, for whatever reason, I'm going to say 92% of your life. And why I said you're playing games is because if you just opt out of that and decide to turn it over to something that you've created, right? Something that specifically the program tells you to manufacture a god in your brain that makes you feel calmer and more polite. Well, okay. Just know what you're, I always say this, know what you're doing. And by golly, it works. Funny. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of benefit. Like fear is a hell of a drug, and combating fear with a God you've created seems to help that battle. And I'm not denying that. For me, anyway, it works. But I know that I'm opting in now to bring up my imaginary friend to help me. And it's kind of special. For me, my creators are very special. And I've really awakened to that, like in the last, since Spencer, about how I play games and how I manipulate my thoughts and how I opt out of some things because it's really difficult, or how I do change things because I really want it. How I how I take control of my life and how I let go. And sometimes there's really healthy reasons just to go, no, I don't want to control this. I don't want to put energy around it. I don't want to manipulate. I just, whatever happens, happens, and I'm cool with that. And then you could tag on that, and whatever God's will is, I'll accept it. It's just becoming so crystal clear, like so much, not crystal clear, it's becoming more clear of what my brain does to manage this interesting, chaotic, beautiful life. But at the end of the day, it's my magical brain that's whipping all this shit around. The coincidences, the everything. And that in itself is miraculous. And that's why I believe in God, because my brain is pretty amazing. To sit back and witness what my brain does is fucking brilliant. And that's why
So that,
yeah. So I just feel like, and I know when I'm, and maybe it sounded harsh to you or like I was jabbing you, but I just know when I'm playing games. I know when I'm like, oh, better help me out here, God. I really want to sell a piece of art. So like I told this to Mom, I'm sure I told this to you, but like, I think there's interesting experiments you can do with God and your concepts of God. Because if God's going to love you, let's say I'm completely wrong, you're still human, and God will forgive you if that's what you believe. So test them. What's the problem? Try out your theories. Really put the chips on it. Don't just kind of go, oh, this is when you start playing games. Oh, I guess God didn't want me to have that. Oh, I guess God wanted me to have that. Because that's what you have to do in order to believe in God. You have to play with your mind. You have to wrap around your consciousness that God works in mysterious ways. So you can never put your finger on it. But I'm going to believe it in it anyway. But what I learned by going down this rabbit hole is that just the concept of believing, and I am rewarded for that. It's not all for nothing. There is rewards for turning certain things over when you've had enough. When you put up and especially in the beginning, like why it's so paramount in the program is because in the beginning you've tried all else that you are used to doing, and when you're really desperate, it's like people on their deathbed, same thing, like, oh God, please, I want to live. Of course, you'll do anything. Your brain will do anything. I don't want to die. God, I believe. Whatever it takes. Anyways, what I was talking about the experiments is like, okay, I'm going to change my God today. I'm going to create a new God. My new God is I'm going to be my own best friend. I want somebody to be my big brother. I want someone to stick up for me. I want someone to take care of me. I want someone to give me discipline. I want my own best friend by my side. I want someone to lift up my chin. I want someone to help me to put my foot down. I want someone to help me with my words. I want someone to help me with my thoughts. I want someone to help me with my actions. And who better to do that than a best friend? And that's what I want my God to be. So I'm going to be my own best friend. And sure, let's even add and help me to do that. Help me to do, I want to be my own best friend and see if you get better results. Maybe you get worse results. Maybe you get no results. But test it. What do you got to lose? Other than fear saying, oh, we can't do that. That's ridiculous. Is it?
Yeah,
No,
no, that sounds great. No, no, it all sounds very good.
just
Yeah,
interesting.
sounds
Like,
good because yeah, it sounds good because if you're gonna be if I'm gonna be my own best friend, what does that mean? That means I'm gonna be looking out for my best interests, right? I'm gonna be wanting to take care of myself,
right.
and so I'm going to look for ways to do that. And what are the ways to do that? Well, I mean, if I want to look for ways to do that, what are the things that bring me peace of mind, joy, happiness, put me into a good place? Well, my experience, being, in recovery for a period of time tells me that I'm in my best place when I'm helping others, when I'm spreading love and connection and joy, compassion, tolerance. So when I'm hooked into those things, and I'm sharing at a pretty deep level with people, and helping other people to find their own connection to that being that side of ourselves that's going to be our big brother and take care of ourselves, whatever you want to call that. If you want to call that God, great. If you want to call that this part of myself that takes care of me, that's fine too. The important thing is to get out of self, because the nature of our disease is self-centeredness, selfishness, self-centeredness, and self-centered fear. So if I turn to whatever gets me out of my selfishness, self-centered and self-centered fear, that's good. If I stay in my selfishness, self-centered fear, that's not going to be helpful for me. That's not going to be something that's going to benefit me at all. It's going to put me in a bad place, and I won't be able to take care of myself. I'll stay stuck. I'll stay stuck in my negativity, my self-centered fear, my selfishness, my false pride, my self-pity. All that stuff will, it will be the stuff I'm stuck on, because when I'm in my own mind, in my addiction, that's where I go. That's where I stay. So that's not a happy place to be. I don't think there's any benefit from being there, other than when you go there, at least you know what hell's like, so you can not want to go there again. That's yeah. So what's the best way for me to get out of my selfish, self-centered fear? Is to turn to a power, whether that be my best friend, who's me, that takes care of me, or whether that's like a specific God-like entity, whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't. What anybody believes in, it doesn't matter to me. It's irrelevant. And whether it's Mother Earth, Mother Teresa, or Mother Buddha, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want to turn to in for a way to get out of yourself and your selfish self-centered fear, selfishness, self-centered fear. Get out of that. Would use it.
Right, but that's my whole point is that you're creating that, right? Like you're not getting out of yourself is my whole point.
Well, you are though. You're getting out of your. It's not about getting out of yourself so much. You're getting out of your selfish, self-centered fear, right? And if I'm stuck in my selfish, self-centered fear, in my, like, say I'm just coming out of, like, I've been an addict or alcoholic for 20 years, and now I'm just getting clean. What's changed? Nothing. I'm still stuck in my selfish, self-centered fear, and I have to get out of that selfish,
That's just
self-centered fear.
behavioral. That's like, so after you've gotten 20 years though, now it's behavior. So you can really,
Yeah, okay, right. But I'm
you
saying
can really
you have to.
filter through what's healthy behaviors at that point, ideally.
Right, but do you not see how if I'm not connected to something, if I stay in my addiction, and I don't have to be, I can be sober for 20 years and still slip back into that addictive behavior and selfish, self-seeking, and self-centered fear. I can easily go there. I can go there today. But what that doesn't serve me. So it's better for me to turn to that power, whether it be my higher self or my big brother me, whatever you want it to be. It doesn't matter. I got to connect to that and look to that to get on my selfishness and my self-centered fear. Otherwise, I stay there. And if I stay there, I'm unhappy beyond belief sometimes. Like I'm depressed. I'm like caught. I'm stuck.
Yeah, but you'll
I'm in
get out of
cement.
it.
Well, yeah.
Here's,
Well,
I guess here's the reality.
How are you going to get out of that? How are you going to get out of that by yourself if you don't turn to something? If you stay in your selfish, self-centered fear and selfishness, how are you going to get out of that?
See, that's what I'm saying. You need to, like, what I need to do is test out that theory, and I have, and I do. It's a constant learning experience. Like, let me take it a step further. So first I said, become your own best friend and see, and weigh that against what you did yesterday to stay sober as far as constructing a God is concerned. So today I'm gonna try out a new God, and that new God philosophy is I'm gonna be my own best friend and see if we get any further ahead, or if it's more of a I feel like I'm missing something, but really investigate, or I'm getting the same result.
I think.
But then the next day, now there is no God. Let's convince yourself that there is no God and see what kind of day you have then. What happens if you have a better day than the day before? What happens if you have a worse day?
So what would be the point of that? Okay, so okay,
but
so if I decide
that's a great question. What's the point of that? Because in doing that, what you'll discover is that what I initially said to you in the very beginning of this conversation is you are in control, Tyler. Do not play games unless absolutely necessary. And if absolutely necessary, you know you're pressing the red button. That's why this whole circle came, and I'm glad, now I'm happy with this podcast because it came full circle. That's why this is what the whole thing is about. Try out your gods, try out your absence of gods, and you'll come to the realization that you know who's at the end of the road? You! Ta-da! What an epiphany that is, versus having no control and just being a wanderer and picking fruit along the way.
You know what? If I'm wandering and I'm picking fruit along the way,
it's a beautiful life. I've already alluded to that.
Yeah. So that doesn't sound like a bad thing. And what sounds like a bad thing is living in the hell of my mind, where I'm caught in my selfishness, my self-centered fear, and I can't get out of it. That's a horrible place. And so if I'm there, what do I need to do to get out of that?
Maybe you don't want to get out of it, so you become Michael Jordan. Are you watching that documentary?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
They're calling it brilliant and on, but you see what an egotistical maniac creates. The greatest basketball player of all time with no friend.
Sure. So, okay. So what do you want to be? What do you want in your
Correct.
life?
But now, again, now you're playing with the rules, right? Like you're playing with the rules. It's game playing. It's like it's. You're absolutely right. Some people just want a family and want to wander and go to Watson's on Sundays, and then after church, and they don't want to think too much. Just simple is better. I think in The Great Gatsby, it's called A Pretty Fool. I just hope my daughter's a pretty fool.
Right. And that's what's the point of that? What are you trying to get at there? What are you saying?
Ignorance is bliss. If I can just turn it all over to a creation I made in my brain, oh, does that make things simple? And whatever happens, happens. And also what you said, reality is what it is, unless you actually want to spend some time and energy to change that. Most people don't,
Right.
yes? So it's easier just to go, well, I guess God, da, da, da.
So so here's my life. I'm living my life, and the way I'm living my life is I'm caught up in addictive behavior, whatever that happens to be, whether it's gambling or sex or drugs or alcohol, whatever it is. I'm caught up in this addictive life, and I can't live a life per se because all I'm doing is living to follow my addiction. I'm caught up on my disease, and I can't get out of it. And sometimes I'll go from one addiction to another, to another, to another, to another.
Not
And I'm
sometimes.
living it.
Not sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Always.
Okay. So, but I'm always right. So I'm always my addictive behavior. I'm going from one addiction to another addiction to another. I'm never ever at a place where I can just be at peace, be comfortable in my own skin. I'm always full of fear, self-centered fear, and selfishness. And I'm so self-absorbed, I can't get out of this place that I'm in. So now I get into I find my way in a 12-step recovery program. And I start working the steps, and I start identifying that selfishness, dishonesty, self-centered fear. And I start looking at myself for the way I've been and the way I'm acting, and I get stuck in that. But I start to see it, and I'm able to start to change it. And how do I change it? Well, by first of all, seeing myself for what I really am, coming to believe that there's a way for me to see myself differently, whether that be God, Mother Earth, my big brother within that's taking care of me, whatever, doesn't matter. The universe, anything, whatever. I look to a power greater than myself because if I'm the end all and be all, then what happens when I die? If I'm the end all and be all, what happens when I die? So there must be a power greater than me, because I can even see that in the rooms of say, Alcoholics Anonymous or another 12-step fellowship or another recovery fellowship. I look around the rooms and I see people that have recovered because they've done followed a few certain principles, and they've changed. And as a result of that, the compulsion to, follow their disease, their sickness and disease, has left them. So there's a power amongst this group that is greater than the power that I have as one individual. So that's the only power that I even need. But if I can understand that and accept that and be willing to turn my will over to that power, whether I understand it or not, doesn't matter. Then I can, look at myself and do the searching and fearless moral inventory and identify my character defects and start to try and act as if they're removed and start to change those character defects. Stop the dishonesty, stop the self-centeredness, get out of myself a little bit, try to help somebody else, make amends to those people that I've hurt, and go through that whole process. And as a result of doing that, I realized that the compulsion to partake in that addictive behavior has been removed. So there's a process here that works. Now I can fight that. To what avail? Well, if I can fight it, I can keep trying to do it my way, keep trying to keep myself sick and die. right? Because that's what happens to a lot of people. They fight it, they die. And then there's a lot of people who accept it and change and live. And I mean, when we're talking about, addictive behavior, it is life or death. It's life or death. Do I want to live, or do I want to, not, do I want to continue to fight to have control over my life, to believe that I somehow have control over my addiction, and to stay locked in that lie, that false belief that somehow one of these days, I'm going to be able to do this on my own and die, because that's what happens to people. They stay stuck there because it comes down to that fear of change is so overwhelming that they'll prefer the fear of change. They'll prefer death over the fear of change, the fear of accepting a new concept which they haven't accepted before. The fear of accepting that new concept is so overwhelming that, give me another drink. I'm going to get another 8-ball. I'm going to spend some more money at the casino. I'm going to go have sex with a hooker. Whatever it happens to be, it's like all that stuff. It's like that's the driving force. That's your addiction. The inability to say, okay, I'm going to accept something different. I'm going to see all. I'm looking around all these people who have recovered from this hopeless state of mind and body and see what they do. I can do what they do, or I can continue to fight it. But I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid of the change of what might happen to me if I am to accept some course, like some kind of power. It doesn't have to. I mean, God is just a word they use in recovery, just because it's a simplified word, but it doesn't mean whatever you come into the rooms believing in, prior to coming in. It doesn't mean that. What it means is whatever you want it to be, even if it's me, the highest version of myself, the part of myself that takes care of me. That's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's a great thing to grasp onto. It's better than the old way, which is to believe that somehow, some way, I'm going to figure this out on my own. And if I don't, oh well, too bad. I'm going to die. Oh well, too bad. I'm still too afraid to accept something, a concept that is different than that. To be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face.
Should I start recording or?
Yeah.
I'm recording now.
Okay. All right. All right. This has been Real Raw Recovery. I'm Joe Tilley.
Tyler Tilley.
And yeah, so let's do the moment of silence in the Serenity We prayer. Okay.
All right.
God,
God.
grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm afraid of whittling you down.
Are you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because then there'll be nothing left of me.
Well,
You'll
because
whittle me
it's
down
like,
to the bare. Yeah.
it's like not a very
Satisfying.
no, this isn't the best analogy from my standpoint, but just like it would be like sometimes it's like a poor man, just like on a really superficial level here, just to give the analogy. Like it's a poor man giving advice to a rich man, and then the rich man takes that advice and becomes poor.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of doing that to you, but I'm not, but because I just have such a different concept, and I do have a really soft spot for AA. So when you throw the AA card in, um, I I guess it will make me think harder, and I would like to be more delicate with my words when discussing AA, because I have a great respect and love for it. But often I'm not on that plane at all, especially with these discussions. Like that's not my go-to with certain discussions. So it's not my okay. So when you do have somebody who's under great duress and active addiction, and they do change their life around, it's a beautiful thing. And that's the power of a community. Community is humans are a beautiful, interesting creature, and when they congregate, a lot of great things can happen. And when tribes bring in somebody and nurture them back to health, it's beautiful. It's it's great. So I have
So the powers
spot.
in the tribe, the powers in the tribe, the powers in the tribe. Well, and that's great. And you see, that's great. Because if I decide that the power's in the tribe, because I can see the power in the tribe, that's great. And
Correct.
if I don't see some kind of power somewhere, then what happens?
Well, I don't have a comment on that. I have a comment on, I'm not talking about the power of the tribe today. Like I'm not. That's not where my journey has taken me.
Right.
So
okay.
It's just like, so it started with, like, I think you get triggered by the word control, and so do I. And that's why it's fun to feel myself get excited. I wouldn't even say that, like, I got excited when I heard you, or when we brought that up. I can't remember how it came up this time, but I got excited because I was like, oh yeah, here we go. The man who doesn't believe in any control, and me who believes in, it's like we're literally on opposite spectrums. And so
maybe, but maybe, but maybe not. And I think that's what happens is I think it's what happens is, okay. So it's great. I think it's great to think, and it's great to think at a deep level. And if that's where you want to do is you want to think at a deep level. Like I don't want to. I'm not. I think that's great. I think it's awesome to challenge yourself and challenge your thoughts and challenge your beliefs. That's great, because what happens ultimately for me when I do that is it actually has the effect of strengthening my belief. Because when I go through that whole cycle that we just went through, at the end of it, I feel like, because I woke up this morning, for example, I did some, I call it, we call it two-way prayer. So I pray, I meditate, and then I write down the thoughts I get after I meditate. And one of the thoughts that I got was, I'm a little stuck today. It's kind of like, it's like a little bit of numbness. I can't identify what's going on, but it feels like there's a block there, some kind of emotional, mental block, whatever. And I felt that. I wrote that down. I got some kind of block going on there. I'm going to talk to Tyler, and I'm going to talk to some people today, and I'm going to see what happens. And I think what happened is that I think the block's gone. And I think this process has helped me get that block. And so what it is just I think maybe just a lack of clarity, and maybe it was a little bit of like stuck on maybe part of it was is like, why am I believing this? Why is this helpful for me? Maybe that was part of the block that was going on for me. Yeah, because yeah, there's things going on in my life here and there, and I need to maybe challenge myself and challenge and inquire as to what what I'm doing, where I'm going, and how it's working for me. So I think I think kind of feel like the inquiry has sort of started for that. I'm going to have to do some self-searching and some take a good look at what's going on, and determine if I want to continue on the path that I'm going on. So anyway, that's good. Because I think ultimately we're saying the same thing. We're coming at it from a different different place, but I think we're ultimately getting to the same thing. So that's why, even though it seems like a different path or a different outlook, it's kind of the same. And I don't think that if you want to challenge me in any way, I don't think that's a bad thing either. Like, I don't think ignorance is bliss. I don't believe that. I think if I really am, uh, hey, if I appear to be like, you know, uh, living in a bubble where I'm not looking at outside of myself and I'm just believing God's good and that's it, not allowing myself to challenge anything like that, then I'm not. I don't think that's being true to myself. I don't think that's. So if you assume that that's what's going on, then that's okay. I need to be challenged with that. If my faith or my beliefs or whatever, my program is so fragile that you know you have to be careful what you say, because it's going to knock me off my perch or whatever, knock me off course. If that's the case, then I need to look at that and find something bigger and stronger than that. Because there's always going to be people trying to knock you off your perch. There's always going to be situations, that's going to alter courses. So,
Except though, if it's not broke, don't fix it. What about that? Does that come into play? Like, does that register?
well, yeah, okay, for sure. That's great. I mean, I go through periods of time when everything's good and it's good for a long period of time. But then, there's something about being human, I think, that that causes us to have roadblocks, right, as we go along our merry way. And everything's not always going to be perfect. And so when roadblocks come our way, it's usually because there's something going on in my life that I'm not looking at, right? There are a number of ways to block, but if it's, amends I won't make, it's something, a habit I won't give up, or something I'm doing that it's hurting other people, something that's going along there's a block that's keeping me away from the sunlight of the spirit. There's something going on in my life that needs to be looked at, and then I have to face that and look at that, and then I can get back on the rails again. But it's just, and if I'm not, if there's stuff going on that's not really good, if I continue on, it's going to be painful, and the more painful it gets. So I don't know. I don't know what happens next after that. But if I suffer for a long period of time, then what? If I if I have a way to get out of the suffering and I take it, well, that's probably a good idea. If I have a way to get out of this suffering, by changing my attitude, by looking at ways to change, that's good. If I have to challenge myself and look at something in a deep, deep, deep way, that's good. If I want to run for an easy fix, quick fix, quick and easy fix, probably not good.
So I have to add,
So
I have to, these will be my closing remarks, but I have to bring it up. So part of the, not even my fear, but just my apprehension about worrying about your state of mind and talking about these things is, for example, like what happens, there's not a challenge. And like, I almost want to have to reiterate that, because heaven forbid you take me up on it and it doesn't work out in your favor. Well, then I'm sorry I said anything. But
yeah,
um, like what happens if you woke up tomorrow and said, there is no God, I got this, everything, I'm doing everything? Do you immediately
yeah.
assume you'll become a psychopath killer with an addiction? Like, do you immediately think you'll go to the gun store and kill people, or you'll run to the liquor store and then, because I'm not saying about the long term, I'm just saying about tomorrow. So like where we can get it twisted is that I'm also not,
Well,
I'm saying,
okay.
but hear me out. But hear me
Yeah,
out. You
yeah,
got to tread very lightly with what I'm saying, because I personally am interested in my reactions and the way that I operate, with the belief system that something is guiding me versus I'm guiding me. I'm doing this.
hmm
It's my simulation. It's my world. This is, you reap what you sow. I
yeah,
also believe in somewhere in the middle, and like I can like, I like a mixture. Sometimes I really just need to, for my own sanity, would like to believe that God's got me and he'll get me through this, and it's the footprints in the sand, if you will. And there's other times where it's like, no, you goddamn well know whose fucking footsteps those are. So all I'm suggesting is, if you took the concept of those are my footprints in the sand, let's get fucking honest for a minute. Okay, how do you operate now? Can you still navigate? Can you still live your life in an unharmful manner? Can you still operate in a way that you can control your behaviors and that you can manage your life? That's my hesitation question for you, is like, because that's why I'm worried about bringing these things up, because why would you do that? But for me, that's what's on my mind. Those are like, I like to have my cake and eat it too,
hmm
so
yeah. So that's I think what happens is I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but I'm going to make the assumption that a lot of human beings think like me, if not all of them. And we so we can get to a place where we in recovery try to turn my will and my life over the care of God as I understand God, whether it be the tribe or whatever. And we've already established that there's power in the tribe, so there may be some power there. But if I make the assumption that everybody thinks like me, or most people think like me, or some people think like me, then I realized that I try to control an awful lot. And when I am aware of how much I'm trying to control, it can help me be less controlling. And by being less controlling, there's lots of side effects of that, but the most important part for me is that I don't suffer so much. When I realize that I'm trying to control situations which are beyond my control, I get frustrated and angry, and I'm not in a good place. When I allow myself to understand fully that I only have a very small piece of this that I can control, and it has more to do with my attitudes than anything. And so that's what I can really control. So when I've got an objective perspective on what is controllable and what isn't, I think I'm in a better place. When I'm in of the belief that I can control shit that's way out of my control, I'm going to be frustrated and angry and not in a good place. So it's good for me to have some objective perspective of that. And what helps me to get that objective perspective is that tribe and that power in the tribe. And that's what I got to say about that.
Sometimes I believe that suffering and that anger and that anguish or that struggle is some of the most important experiences I've ever had in my life versus just opting out at that time. I don't want to put myself through that suffering. Some things are not worth it. Some things are. And I think that's the meaning of life. Like I'm all in, and I don't care if the fucking world implodes. I'm in. And if that means 25 years of struggle, well, I'm grateful. I hopefully there will be major, like, trudging. I have a poem I'd like to read you.
Okay.
One night a man had a dream. He dreamed the Lord, he dreamed he was walking along the beach with the Lord. Across the sky flash scenes from his life. For each scene he noticed two sets of footprints in the sand. One belonged to him, the other to the Lord. When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back at the footprints in the sand. He noticed that many times along the path of his life there was only one set of footprints. He also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest times of his life. This really bothered him, and he questioned the Lord about it. Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I have noticed that during the most troublesome times in my life, there is only one set of footprints. I don't understand why when I needed you most, you would leave me. The Lord replied, my precious, precious child, I love you and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It is. It makes you feel good, like a good movie.
Yeah.
Like a good
movie. Like a good movie.
Like Benjamin Button.
All right, son. Like Benjamin Button. It's a good movie. Or
right,
Forrest Gump. I gotta go. Well, yeah, it's that time. That's where the magic happens.